didn't because I left home that spring.
You lit out.
Yeah, and went to Chicago. That was kind of the end of my childhood once I left. Because at that point in time, I had to do everything on my own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't have anything when I was in Vance, Alabama. I had a lot less when I left because I didn't have anything. What I had was what I wore. Didn't have any money. But like I say, I told this story, part of the story already, that I did get a job, worked all of that summer, and started my career as working, and certainly it was a big improvement on what I was doing in Vance, Alabama.
Why don't you tell a story about teaching me to drive a stick shift?
I didn't do that.
I know. But you were there.
We were on vacation, and we were down in Greenville, Kentucky. And my wife, she had an Uncle Phil and Aunt Juanita, and they lived in the country. And Uncle Phil had an old 3/4 ton truck. I think it was a Chevrolet. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was probably a 50.
But it had a you know, like a 5-speed transmission with a floor shift.
No, I think it was 3 on the tree, wasn't it?
I don't think so. It might have been, but I believe it had a.
Maybe it did. Yeah, maybe it did have a floor shift.
I think it had a
3/4
shift.
ton. Yeah.
But they had done a lot of coal mining in that part of the country, and they had a lot of stripper dumps where they had mined the land, and they left big piles of you know, the tailings and things from stripping the land. It was like mountains. They call them stripper pits. And Phil, he ran around over those stripper pits. He cut firewood over there. He picked up coal. There was some fishing holes over there, and there was a graveyard over there. And I think, you know, the town they had tore, you know, they had completely dug the town up and moved the people out of there. It wasn't a very big town, but they had moved everybody out of there. But the graveyard was still there, and Phil and Juanita would go over there, and they would tend to the graveyard because they had relatives buried in that graveyard. And it was isolated. I mean, there wasn't anything around but those stripper dumps. And we were there on vacation, and Phil wanted to go over there to those stripper dumps. And they had a drag line over there. I mean, I forget the name of the drag line, but the Big Dipper or something they call it. But it was huge, you know. They could.
It was like one of the biggest in the world.
They could scoop out anything, and he wanted us to see that big drag line. And so we go over there, and Tom, at that time, Tom might have been 10, 11 years old. I don't know if he was. He wasn't very old, but we get over there on those stripper dumps, and Phil don't ask or do anything else. He just asked Tom if he wants to drive the truck. And I mean, there's 3 of us. You know, we're all in the cab of that truck, that old 50s Chevrolet. And he tells Tom to get behind the wheel. And Tom is dumb as a 10 or 12-year-old kid would be. He just jumps right in there. He's happy as hell to get behind that wheel. And he takes off, and I'm sitting in there, and Phil's sitting there, and Tom is, you know, he's got that thing in low gear, and he's winding around, you know, with that thing, and he's guiding it, and he seemed to be doing all right. And then he decides to take off up one of them stripper pits. And you might be 100 feet up in the air, you know, those big stripper dumps, and Tom don't know how to drive, and he damn sure don't know how to stop that thing. It scares me to death, and I'm yelling, trying to get him off the wheel and get somebody else, but he's a wheeling and a dealing, boy. We're all over that stripper dump, and finally get it shut down and get Phil back behind the wheel, and I'm praying at that point in time, because I know Tom's going to run off at that stripper dump. We're going to go down in one of them big cuts You know, it's got water in the bottom, and all three of us is just going to be one massive wreck. But that was his first experience.
I remember at one point, I think we only had 3 wheels on the ground.
Yeah, well, we were all over that strip. I was scared to death. I don't know what possessed Phil to put him behind the wheel. It came as a total surprise to me. I didn't know he was going to do that. And Phil, he just didn't have any fear about anything. He just thought, kid that age, probably been living on a farm, knows how to drive everything. It was damn near the death of all three of us. I promise you that. But that was Tom's first experience. And of course, after that, after he got a little bit older, I spent some time trying to teach him how to drive. And there was times when I didn't think he was ever going to learn, but he did better in a Honda Civic than he did in that old truck. I promise you that. I remember one time he took that Honda, and it was a really big snow, and I had tried to get him not to go off in it.
Yeah.
He was still in school, but hard-headed kids don't listen to their parents, and he had gone off in that thing. And he finally, when he did come home, he buried it up in a snow pile in the front yard. And he said it won't start. And I was about ready to call Dan. Dan was a tow truck driver, and have the car towed because he had done messed it up and it wouldn't start and everything. And so I said, well, let me go out there with you and look at it. So I go out there. It's dark and cold, and the car is buried up in a snow pile. And I said, I get in there and I get to looking around, and you turn the key on, and it won't do anything. And I'm trying to figure out what is he got messed up so bad he's running that snow pile and everything. And what he'd done is he had run up in that snow pile and he'd killed the engine. And he wasn't putting it in neutral or in park to try and start it. It was still in gear, and of course when he turned the key on, it wouldn't turn the motor over. And once I get to looking at it and seeing what he's done, then I was able to put it in gear and start it and get it out of the snow pile and put it in the driveway like it's supposed to be. But he done got excited, buried it up in a big snow pile in the front yard. He finally took that one Honda Civic we had. And he ran it in front of a train, and the train cut the thing in half. And the good news is he and his girlfriend at that time, Blue, had managed to get out of the car
just in time
before the train got there. And I remember one of the things he always said to me after that. He said, when that train hit that car, he said the windshield went way up in the air. And then when it come down, it just flew into 1,000 pieces. When I saw that car, it split the car in half when the train hit it. And later on, the railroad wrote me a letter wanting me to pay for the damage to the train. And I'm thinking to myself now, a Honda Civic don't weigh hardly anything, and that train is, I can't tell you how many horsepower and how much weight that train's got on, and it hit that Honda Civic and cut it in half. And he's thinking my car damaged that train. I didn't even respond to the letter. I just thought it was nonsense. They're probably trying to protect themselves, keep me from suing them, I guess. But I didn't sue him, but that was the end of that Honda. Obviously, you wasn't even worth picking up the pieces.
Well, we actually did. For a while, we picked up the front end, brought her home in a truck.
But that was one of the experiences. Another experience I had with Tom he had some boyfriends, and they were just. Bonnie Bray trash, is about all I can say about them boys, because they were in trouble all the time. They put the canoe on top of that Honda, and they went off and put it on the canoe in the Kankakee River. And then they went off, and then they couldn't get back to the car. You know, they went down the river, you know, on a canoe, and the car is in one place, and they're 15 miles away. And then somebody calls me and said, "You're going to have to go get them boys." And I had to go and hunt them up and haul them back to the car and then get the car back to the house. And I was thinking to myself, somehow or another we're going to have to take the keys away from him because he's always in trouble.
Well, I think I'm embarrassed enough. We're gonna call it a day here, Pop.